This is Becoming the Burg, Stories That Shaped the Sunshine City, a project from I Love the Burg and the St. Petersburg Downtown Partnership.
Hi, I'm Monical Kile with I Love the Burg, and I'm standing at the historic Greenwood Cemetery, tucked behind a long stone wall along Martin Luther King Street South near the historic Rosa Park neighborhood. Platted in the late 1890s, Greenwood is the final resting place for some of our city's most notable early residents. Let's take a look inside. People like David Moffett, the city's first mayor, who was elected in 1892 in a heated race against city co-founder John C. Williams. Williams was so crushed by his loss in the election that he chose not to be buried in St. Petersburg and rather was shipped home to his hometown of Detroit for his burial. Hidden under dense brush lies the grave of John Bethel, who settled the area around today's Driftwood neighborhood 29 years before St. Petersburg even became a city. Bethel and his family turned it into a thriving community known as Pedros Village, with its own post office and drugstore. Bethel later wrote the first history of our area, one that historians still rely on today. Greenwood is also the final resting place of one of our area's most colorful characters, Silas Dent, who lived on Cabbage Key, today's Tierra Verde, when it was still only accessible by boat. He became known throughout the country as the Happy Hermit, thanks to this Life magazine article in 1948. Befitting the hermit that he was, Dent's headstone has disappeared, but he probably lies near his niece, Selma Dent Lane, who married the future general manager of the Chicago White Sox, Frank Lane. There are more than 100 Civil War veterans buried in Greenwood Cemetery from both sides of the Mason-Dixon line. In fact, there are dual Civil War memorials here. Fittingly, the Confederate Memorial lies on the south side of the cemetery, while the Union Memorial is on the north. So if rebels and Yankees can be buried in the same cemetery, begs the question, are African Americans interred here as well? Sadly, no. In St. Pete's earliest years, our cemeteries were as segregated as our schools and neighborhoods were. St. Pete's first black settlers, John and Anna Donaldson, arrived here in 1868 and bought a 40-acre farm near 18th Avenue South. It's believed that they rest here in Glen Oak Cemetery, the city's oldest graveyard, with burials dating back to 1874. There are more than 75 graves in Glen Oak Cemetery, with the earliest being here in this ancient Indian mound. More than half of the headstones have disappeared, including those of John and Anna Donaldson, whose burial in a white cemetery was really an anomaly. So where are the rest of St. Pete's earliest black residents buried? The answer is complex. Many of them were originally buried here, in a cemetery named after the city's first mayor. Moffat Cemetery, along with two other black cemeteries, Oaklawn and Evergreen, stretch across acres of land that today are parking lots for Tropicana Field. Over time, the three cemeteries fell into disrepair, and their graves were moved to make way for highway and housing projects. But historians now believe that many of the graves still remain in their original location, buried under layers of asphalt and concrete. I'm at Lincoln Cemetery in today's Gulfport. Lincoln was established in 1926 as an all-black cemetery on the outskirts of St. Petersburg. It became the second final resting place of many of the residents who were moved from Moffat and Evergreen cemeteries. Lincoln was separated from the all-white Royal Palm Cemetery by the railroad tracks, which are today the Pinellas Trail. Lincoln Cemetery is full of many of St. Petersburg's most notable African-American residents. People like Elder Jordan, who was born into slavery and came to St. Petersburg in 1904, where he developed a small fortune and a stellar reputation. He opened the popular Jordan Dance Hall, later renamed the Manhattan Casino, where legendary acts like Louis Armstrong and Ella Fitzgerald played. He fought for a school for black children, and in 1925, the Jordan Elementary School was named in his honor. Later, he donated the land on which the Jordan Park housing complex was built. The city recently dedicated a memorial statue of him on 22nd Street South. Jordan's grave rests not far from those of other local legends like Robert Swain and Ralph Wimbish, a dentist and a doctor who together desegregated baseball spring training in 1961. Wimbish's grave lies not far from his wife, C. Bet Wimbish, who was St. Pete's first black city council member. You can learn the Wimbish's story and that of many others like John Lasker, a black Civil War soldier, on these wooden historic markers that help keep Lincoln from becoming one of those forgotten cemeteries.